Okay, so just to go back to what we intend to do here, we want to calculate for the allocation process for this example hospital, right? So in this case, we are looking at these figures here. So the example we're trying to show that is in this hospital, we know that the direct cost is $500,000. So in this case, we know that this would be the cost pool, right? So the cost pool is the dollar cost of the overhead activity to be allocated. So in this case here, $500,000. So in this example, we have a hospital with 4 departments. Each department, you will see, you can note here the exact square feet, the space allocated for each department. Right? So ER, for example, is 1,000 square feet. The laboratory department is has 2,000 square feet. Your inpatient ward has 3,000 square feet, and your OR has 4,000 square feet. Right. So in this example here, we have identified that the cost driver for the hospital is the amount of space occupied by each department, right? So the cost driver, if you remember, is the basis in which how the overhead costs are allocated. So we need to pay attention to that. So we've clearly indicated in this example that the housekeeping cost is the amount of space, of occupied space. So what next? So how do we calculate the allocation rate? Right? The allocation rate is the value we use to calculate the allocation. Right? It should be similar to when you calculate the variable cost rate, where this could be a portion or a fraction. Right? But in this case, we're looking at large figures. So for example, in this hospital, the direct cost, this is the formula for allocation rate. The allocation rate here is about dividing the dollar cost in your cost pool, right? Which is this one. So this is the cost pool. So you're dividing that. That amount is divided by the total volume of the cost driver. How would we know the total volume of the cost driver? We don't have that here, right? So what's the cost driver? It's the space. So to calculate this, calculate the total volume of cost driver, we just add all the departments that contribute to that cost driver. So in this case here, we would just need to calculate for that total volume. Right, that's what we need to do. So ER plus lab plus ward plus your OR. That would give you 1,000 plus 2,000 plus 3,000 plus 4,000. That's your 10,000. This will be your total volume occupied. So when you go back down here, you can now calculate for the allocation rate. Right? So the allocation rate, as we calculate that, again, is your cost pool, which is $500,000, divided by the total volume of the cost driver, which we now have calculated as 10,000. So when you divide this amount, $500,000 divided by 10,000, you get 50. This is your allocation rate, right? So now we want to calculate how much is the allocation amount for each department. So all we need to do now is to calculate the departments volume occupied, right? Sorry, in this case, space occupied. Times the allocation rate. So you can call this also the departmental volume. So we know, for example, that for the ER, reverse that. So we know that for the ER occupies 1,000 square feet space. So we multiply that by the allocation rate, which is 50. So for the ER, the allocation rate for ER is 50,000. For the laboratory, for example, it's 2,000 square feet times 50, and then you get your 100,000. For your inpatient ward, you have identified that they occupy 3,000 square feet, right? So that's 3,000 times 50. That's how you get $150,000. Yeah, so the figures here are in dollars amount because you're allocating money to these departments. Right? And the last one is OR, which we have identified as having 4,000 square feet. And so we multiply that with 50 again, the allocation rate, you get $200,000. Right? So that's so based on this calculation, we can now allocate this specific amount for each department's allocation amounts.